Good evening, everyone. This is Chris on Around the ATL on SportsVisions 92.1 FM. Welcome to everyone who's listening on the TuneIn app and, of course, watching on the IMTM Worldwide Radio YouTube page. Tonight's episode, of course, is brought to you by Southern Classic Transportation. Make sure you call Dennis at 404-291-0150. They're the best limo service in Atlanta. Get you where you need to go, wait for you, and bring you back home wherever you need to go, outside the state, too. Also, IMTM Worldwide Images.com. They just had a great couple shoot in Columbus, Georgia. So if you need any photos of any kind, call 706-393-8426. I want to say thank you to our contributors, Jamal Price of Price Design Club, artist Ram One, and producer Calcutta for creating the new theme song for the show. Yolanda Elder Strong, and go ahead and give my local shout outs to Josh, Martavius, Deja, Tariq, Sequoia, Sherry, Allie, and of course, Lily and Sierra, who were never really listening, but I give them a shout out anyway. I want to shout out to my co-host, Jordan Jackson. He's not able to make it tonight, but I'm going to include him in tonight's show because it's a very, very special show tonight. We have a very special guest. As a college athlete, Kentucky Wildcats, she was an SEC Rookie of the Year, all SEC several times over her 4-year career in college, SEC Player of the Year as a junior and a senior. As a professional, she's the first player in the Professional Volleyball Federation to score 700 points. She led the league in scoring in her first year in the league. She became the first ever MVP in the league in history in 2024. And this season, she has helped her team to a 16-8 record so far. Tonight, we have Leah Edmond joining us. Leah, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Let me go ahead and throw this in there. I said I would. Oh, I'm supposed to cut it off eventually, right? So that being said, I want to go ahead and get right into it because I know your time is precious. But again, thank you for being on the show this evening, okay?
Of course.
So my very first question to you, as much as volleyball is a team sport, you have definitely stood out in both college and as a professional. What do you believe has led you to being one of the best in the sport so far?
I mean, it's like you said, it's team sport. And so being around people who push me to be my best every day, I think has been super important. And I've just been blessed to be in programs and have coaches that have challenged me to be my best and to look for excellence in everything that I'm doing. So I think that's a big part of it. My parents, my family are really big supporters of everything I'm doing and just allowing me to play the sport at the highest level and doing whatever they need to make sure that I can do it to the best of my ability, I think has been the big thing, but it definitely has to do with my teammates. I mean, I've been playing with Olympic hopefuls, national champions, pro champions, like anything you could possibly imagine. Anyone that wins at the highest level, I've been able to play with. And I think being around those types of people every single day have definitely made me the player that I am.
And you already brought up something I'm going to ask later. I'm glad you mentioned that, but I'm going to get to it, keep it a secret. So my second question, could you educate us, myself, the audience who might be watching right now? Shout out to everyone watching on IMTM Worldwide Radio and those listening on the TuneIn app for SportsVisions 92.1 FM. Volleyball itself, because there's some who are still not familiar with the sport, really, especially on the professional side. So could you kind of give us a brief education in regards to terms like digs and kills and blocks and aces and assists, how those kind of quantify into winning an actual volleyball match?
Yeah, so basics is that you get 3 touches on your side, so 3 times to touch the ball before it has to go back over to the other side of the net. And those things that you mentioned are basically our stats, like what we can do. So digging is when someone hits the ball from the other side of the net and you get it up. Of course, a block is when you are up trying to stop the person attacking from getting it across the net. So if you do that and the ball they're not able to get the ball up or it's not able to come back across the net, that's a block. A kill is an attack. So any type of swinging motion that either hits the ground ground or someone's unable to play it as like the second touch, those are considered kills. An ace is when somebody's serving. So that's when you see someone at like the back line when the ref initially blows the whistle and then they put the ball into play. When you get an ace, it means that either the ball hit the ground or somebody wasn't able to get that second or third touch. So usually most of the skills in volleyball is somebody couldn't get the ball back up, couldn't get the ball back up, couldn't get the ball back over. And that's usually how you get those types of stats on the stat sheet. And that just kind of depends on what level of what you take seriously the most. So like in the professional world, your passing, so that first contact after someone serves, is a stat that we look at a lot more than you kind of do in college. College kind of keeps it a little bit more basic. Pro, you kind of are more concerned about how many overall points you're getting, not necessarily, okay, you have 20 kills, but you only got 20 kills. How many points did you score? Like, and points are kills, aces, and blocks. So anytime that you're able to put a point on the board, that counts as a point. So digs don't go towards your points, but overall stats. So that's kind of like the basics, I guess, in terms of terms. It can get really technical and there's just so much more I could get into, but we don't want to confuse everyone. I want everybody to know the basics at least.
Well, that's why I threw it to you on that end, because it can get, because I've been going through it, and one of the things I've been doing week after week as I've been covering the Atlanta Vibe on Around the ATL is mentioning not just yourself but some of your teammates in regards to some of the things that they've been doing, whether it be digs, kills, assists, especially, of course, points and things of that nature. So whether it be, I believe her name is Mia Timmer, and
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
See, I think I remember some. And others, I'll make sure, because it is a team sport. This is one of the biggest team sports that everyone really has to play as a team to be successful. So that's why I wanted you to kind of explain that for the audience in real time. I appreciate that. That being said, I should skip this question to the last, but I'm going to skip that question for right now. The Vibe have qualified for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Again, after last year, though, how do you feel about advancing through this year's playoffs? Is it too early for you to be thinking about that? The season isn't completely over yet, but how do you feel about the playoffs this year as opposed to last year? And do you feel better about pursuing a championship this year for Atlanta?
I think this year we probably struggled a little bit more throughout the season than we did last year. I mean, last year we only lost 6 games combined, and we've definitely lost more than that this year. And so I think that's been a blessing, though, because now going into April, we only have 4 games left, which is crazy in the regular season. But we've kind of hit a stride. We know what we need to do. We've played every team at least 3 times, so we definitely know how to play everyone, because we're going to sadly have to play someone 5 times to get to that championship. And so I think we're just like in a great place. I think that's the blessing of our organization, is that we've gotten such great players that we're able to qualify super early. So like last year around this time, we already knew that we were going to be in playoffs, and the same thing right now. And I think that kind of takes off a little bit more pressure for these last 4 games. It's let's go out there and we're competing and we're having fun, and we're not really worried about trying to get into playoffs or how many games we have to win to make sure that we're there. It's kind of like, okay, we got to that goal. So now what can we clean up these next 4 games? What can we still improve on so that when we get to playoffs, there's no worry about, oh, this is still something that we have to fix, or we're just happy we got here. Like we barely scraped through. So I think it's great. I think the blessing also of our league is that you only sign 1-year contracts most of the time. So this year's team and last year's team are completely different. And I think that's super cool that we went through completely different challenges this year to get to this point. And we used what we did last year in order to help the new people that are here with us this year. But I think each year has been so cool to kind of get to the same ending. Of course, hopefully this year we'll get way better ending and end up with the championship. But just we knew how to get to that playoffs. We knew what it took to get to that, and to be able to do it 2 years in a row is really cool, and I'm really excited.
I am too, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because near well, let's say a month ago, it was hit or miss a little bit, right? And I mentioned, as we're going through week to week and we're talking about the records, we're talking about different matches, and then all of a sudden, like you said, you hit your stride. And like you also said, Moho. Y'all play Moho a lot, don't y'all? But keeping that in mind, it is more difficult to play a team multiple times, to go through a regular season, then the playoffs, then a possible championship, and you might have to literally play one of these teams like 5 times, but you're prepared for that. and you don't have the anxiety of wondering if you are going to make the playoffs or not. So I definitely can appreciate that. So now I'm going to ask a question I just skipped. What is it like being a professional athlete in Atlanta, Leah?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think it's been fun. I enjoy it. Atlanta as a city in general, like just culture wise, just how big it is. I'm from Kentucky, so definitely different size of cities for sure. I think it's just super cool. There's so many sports teams here, and I think that's like the coolest part about it is that there's just so many people doing so many amazing things in their respective sports at such a high level, and you get to see that. And I think that's so good for especially the younger generation to see so many different sports in front of them and having something to aspire to. So you have both women's and men's basketball, you have baseball and hockey and lacrosse and all and football and everything you have going on here, that you have children here that can be like, I grew up wanting to be just like them and I could see them in my own city. And I think that's super cool. And I love just how much the city embraces sports. And I love the more entertainment aspect of how we treat sports here. I think that's cool too, especially because I went to Kentucky. So like sports is like anything and everything there. And just to see a different side of it a little bit, I think is super cool. And being able to build a fan base from scratch, I think has been so amazing too. And even from like first year to second year, the people who know about us now, I think is super cool. Like we go in the airport and we'd be like, oh yeah, we play pro volleyball. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And then now this year we go in the airport and they're like, we know what that is. Like you see the logo on our shirts and our jackets and you know what it is. And I think that's been so cool to watch that build. But Atlanta's amazing. It's a great city for just about anything. And so just being here, I'm only here for like 6 months out of the year, but just being here for that 6 months is like really fun. And I truly enjoy it. And I'm sad when I have to go back home.
Every week I plug Gas South Arena. You got to go. Where are you waiting for? Now it's time to get your playoff tickets, right? So definitely Atlanta is a sports city. It's been like that for decades, and now that we have another professional team, very exciting to have you as a part of that. Now I actually do have a bonus question. Then I'm going to ask Jordan's question. The Olympics.
Mhm.
What would that mean? Well, let me backtrack. Will the Olympics be something that you will be able to participate in? Is it something that you see in the future? See something that you will be able to be a part of? If so, give me a little bit about the Olympics in your eyes in regards to possibility and what it would mean if you were to be on that next team.
Well, for volleyball, it's a little bit different, I guess, compared to like we see track and swimming. It's just like you hit a time, you win the race, you get to go. Volleyball is a little bit longer of a process, and it really takes almost the whole 4 years in between Olympics to really choose a team, and it really
Oh
depends
wow!
on the year. They can ask up to 60 girls to come train in the gym, and some of those girls will make it past a year, some won't, and so that's kind of the hard thing with that is just you kind of never know. It's just kind of like an invitation of you can come train in the gym, you might play in the qualifying tournaments we need to get to the Olympics. You might not. You might be here for a week and you might not. And so that's been a little bit hard to kind of figure out. If I got the opportunity to be in train in that gym and be able to push towards that, I would love it. But also at the same time, I have goals that I'm doing within volleyball right now that I think are very impactful as well. And just as a Black woman, just being a face for other little Black girls can see is just the biggest deal to me. And that's the big goal I have in general. So if I'm able to do that from the Olympic stage, fantastic. If me playing professional volleyball at Atlanta Vibe is the highest level of volleyball that I played, I'm okay with that too, because I want to make that as great as it possibly can. So I'm kind of back and forth. To me, I'm just like, I have goals that I'm doing. If that gets to be checked off the list, fantastic. If it doesn't, I hope that other things that I'm doing make just as much of an impact as well.
That is a great answer to that question. And you have options
Mhm.
as well, obviously. That's a good thing. But you gave me the perfect segue to this final question before I let you go. My co-host Jordan Jackson says that a good friend of his daughter, named Madison Armstrong, who is a freshman volleyball player at Chowan University, is a big fan of yours. So, what advice would you give young ladies such as her to help them reach their full potential as a volleyball player?
The big thing I always say is being well-rounded. So, yes, like you have a specific position you play, like I'm an outside hitter. There are things that are very specific to my position that I need to be able to do well, but I also need to be able to just play volleyball as a whole well. And I think sometimes with the younger generation, we're very quick to say, okay, you're going to play this position, so you're only going to practice the things that this position needs instead of being able to play every single skill and do every single skill as well as you possibly can. And I think just being able to do that, like you don't have to do every skill perfect. You don't have to do every skill to the highest level possible, but being able to do it at a level that you can maintain and that makes a difference and that can be helpful to your team, I think is really important. Being able to play multiple positions if you can, I think is super important. I also think it's really important to have a life outside of volleyball. And I am a big advocate for that. I work for first 8 hours of the day I practice in the morning and weights, and after that volleyball does not come out my mouth. I do not talk about volleyball. I don't do anything about volleyball. I have life outside of volleyball, and I think that's what makes it so easy to continue playing. I mean, this is my 18th year playing volleyball in a row, and so being able to sustain that meant I had to have a life outside of it. I do not make it my entire life. It is not my identity. It's not my personality, because at some point it will end. Like, I'm not going to play volleyball until I'm 80, 90 years old. That's just not possible. And so, and so being able to have a life outside of that I find joy in, that there are things that still bring value to my life that aren't just a sport, I think is super important. And so then when I get to do volleyball, when I get to play, when I get to compete for that short amount of time, it's more impactful. I put more into it because I only get to do it for a short amount of time.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because I think that's an aspect that a lot of people forget about in regards to athletes in general, is that they do have lives too, right? So there is a very fine line sometimes, but I appreciate that answer very much, and hopefully, Ms. Madison appreciated that too. So, Leah, as we bid you farewell, I just want to say again, thank you for just taking a little bit of your schedule out with Around the ATL tonight on SportsVisions 92.1 FM. Shout out to the Atlanta Vibe for making this possible, and I hope to be able to visit Atlanta. I haven't been in a while. I used to live there, but I haven't been to a match yet myself. So hopefully, I'll be able to come up. Myself and Joy will come up to watch y'all. Hopefully in the playoffs. That's what we're going to probably plan to. The playoffs, championship, right? So we'll be able to come and join you and watch you continue your success as an Atlanta Vibe. And if you could tell the audience where they can find not only yourself but the Atlanta Vibe on the web, so that way they can keep up with the team.
Oh, yes. So on all social media, I'm Leah Edmond 13, and then Atlanta Vibe, it's capital Atlanta and Vibe, and you can find them on everything: Facebook, Twitter. You look it up, they will be there.
They've done a great job this season on that end. Well, again, Leah, I'm going to let you go for now. But again, thank you for being on Around the ATL. It's been a pleasure, and hope to see you again real soon. And good luck for the rest of this season as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. And that, everyone, was a great interview by Miss Leah Edmond of the Atlanta Vibe. They play at Gas South Arena. You need to get a ticket. They're qualified for the playoffs again. They're aiming for a championship. But hopefully you appreciate some of the answers to our questions in regards to just what volleyball is, being a professional in the city of Atlanta, her personal, I should say, personal vibe in regards to volleyball as well, because she does have a personal life on top of being a professional volleyball player. And it was just an enjoyable interview. So that was a great first half of the show. We're going to record the second half of the show. So those who get to watch on IMTM Worldwide Radio on YouTube, continue to watch. Those who are listening on TuneIn, stay tuned for the second half of the show. Till next time, we'll be right back.
You're listening to Around the ATL with Chris and Jordan. We'll be right back with more Atlanta sports talk.
And we are back. Thanks for everyone listening to Around the ATL on SportsVisions 92.1. That was a great interview with Miss Leah Edmond from the Atlanta Vibe. Can't wait to meet her in person one of these days. So, Jordan, let's talk some Braves baseball, man. What's going on for the Braves lately?
Well, unfortunately, Chris, the Braves have been continuing to struggle. They are currently 7 games under 500 and have only won one series this year, oddly enough, against the Philadelphia Phillies. But I do got to give a quick shout out to Sean Murphy, who has 4 home runs in 6 games, which is tied for the team lead, and 8 RBI, which is third on the team. He's been one of the few bright spots with the team so far, Chris.
Definitely needed the output from him. How about Atlanta United? Where are they up to lately?
Well, more bad news, Chris. Atlanta United fell this past Saturday, losing 1-0 to the New England Revolution. The controversial thing about that game was Miguel Almiron had a first half goal disallowed on a penalty, and Atlanta never scored from there. Only 4 shots on goal to New England 7, and that loss dropped the five stripes to just 2 wins, 3 ties, and 3 losses on the season so far.
That's a struggle right there. Hopefully they can bounce back. The Masters. I try to do my CBS voice, Jordan. I can't do it right now. Who won the green jacket, man?
A tradition unlike any other. Yes, Rory McIlroy won the Masters. He defeated Justin Rose in a playoff to bring home the title. That completed the career Grand Slam for him. So congratulations to him on that. And his final total was minus 11. I was actually in Augusta this weekend, and it's quite incredible the way the Masters just transforms that place. All the restaurants are full. The shops are busy with people. I saw more private jets at the airport than I've ever seen in my entire life. So shout out to Augusta for putting on a great tournament once again. It is absolutely the greatest golf tournament in this entire world, Chris.
And I got to watch that last round. It was pretty exciting, I will have to admit. Last but not least, let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks. The play-in tournament is on. Unfortunately, the Atlanta Hawks fall to the Orlando Magic 120-95. And already somehow Trae Young is being blamed when Zach scored 7, Dyson had 7, Okongwu 11, Moji had 12, and Niang had 15 off the bench. And that was pretty much it off the bench because LeVert and Mann didn't help at all. So, Jordan, where do we stand now? What happens next in this play-in tournament?
Well, what happens next, Chris, is we watch the Bulls versus the Heat and to see who emerges as our opponent next. That game will be in Atlanta. And despite the disappointment of the game against Orlando, I do expect the Hawks to win that ball game in Atlanta and advance to the playoffs and be the 8th seed and take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's just unfortunate, though, that we were able to come back from down 22 against Orlando and cut the lead all the way down to 3, but we just could not get over the hump, sir.
And this was on the road as well, so you always have that advent. So let me ask you this: between Miami and the Heat, do you have a preference on who to play in this last play-in game?
I really don't have a preference, Chris. I feel like we match up well against either team. I feel like Dyson Daniels will not let Kobe White go for 42 points if we play them like DeJounte did. I also feel like he can slow down Tyler Hero as well. I think both teams are a much better matchup for the Hawks than the Orlando Magic, who are just longer, taller, able to beat us on the boards, and they don't really have a place to kind of hide Trey. They have guards that can attack Trey. So I feel like Miami nor Chicago has the overall elements that Orlando has, sir.
Well, let me just point this out. The Orlando Magic bench is what beat the Atlanta Hawks. Anthony Black had 16 and Cole Anthony had 26. Cole Anthony averages like 8 points a game for the season. And he had 26 tonight in 20 minutes off the bench. So who was guarding him and who was guarding Anthony Black? Because the rest of the lineup, Wendell Carter had 19, Franz Wagner had 13 and 13, and Banchero had an ugly 17. Caldwell Pope had 5, and Corey Joseph had 9. So again, how is all this Trae Young's fault when he's not guarding all 5 players plus the 2 people off the bench? I don't understand it. It's silly to me, but people can have that if they want to. Now, since we believe that the Hawks will win their play-in game against either the Heat or Chicago, that goes into Cleveland. So what are your thoughts in regards to possibly meeting Cleveland in the playoff series, Jordan?
I like the matchup against Cleveland better than I like the potential matchup against the Celtics. The Celtics have Drew Holiday and Derek White, 2 excellent defensive players that they can throw at Trey. Cleveland does not really have a real Trey defender. Now, Cleveland does have better rim protection with Evan Mobley and with Jared Allen, but Boston also has Porzingis who can protect the rim, and a veteran in Al Horford is not a rim protector, but just knows how to play the game. And the one thing is, Cleveland just does not have a track record of playoff success like the defending champion Boston Celtics do. But the key is we're going to have to shoot the basketball better than we shot the ball against Orlando. Only shooting 19% from three-point range is not going to cut it. Only 38% from the field is not going to cut it. And we just can't afford to have five guys not shoot the ball well like what happened against Orlando.
And that is really what I'm looking at is the inconsistencies because, again, all season we've had some great games, and then you have games like this. And again, it's a matter of the support part of it. If you can't hit shots, it's going to be hard to win. That's basketball, right? But again, it's a matter of when someone passes you the ball and you're not hitting your shot, where do you, again, to continue to align that fault at a certain point when you're looking up and down the lineup and nobody is scoring the ball? So, yeah, against Cleveland especially, we can't have a game where we're basically zeroing out. And I will mention this, and I mentioned this before the show started, that I was encouraged for at a certain point in time, we weren't chucking up threes just for the sake of chucking up threes. We didn't have 50 attempts out there tonight. And that was one of the reasons we were able to come back in the game because, again, you don't know what the other team's going to do. Are they going to keep hitting shots too? Maybe not, especially if you actually play some defense, right? So I think the Hawks definitely have a better chance against Cleveland, probably again, rather than the Boston Celtics, the defending world champions. I'm hoping for the best because we really need to have a showing. We really need to be in the playoffs this year. We really do. Jordan, any other final thoughts on any of our sports for tonight?
Last point, I think being able to be competitive on the boards is going to be crucial in the next playing game as well as going on into the playoffs if our prediction comes true. We got crushed on the boards by Orlando by 12. Even if we don't win the rebounding battle, we cannot get beat by double digits on the boards, Chris.
Exactly. Well, I hope everyone appreciated our 13th episode of Around the ATL here on SportsVisions 92.1 FM. And again, shout out to Miss Leah Edmond, the most valuable player of the Professional Volleyball Federation and of the Atlanta Vibe, for joining us earlier. It was a great interview and hope to, again, look forward to seeing her in the playoffs this year. Please tell others about Around the ATL, whether or not you're in Atlanta, Columbus, Texas, Australia, London, wherever you might be listening from. Especially London. We have some London listeners out there now. Of course, make sure you go and visit our sponsors, Southern Classic Transportation. Make sure you call Dennis at 404-291-0150, the best limo service in Atlanta. And also IMTM Worldwide Images. Make sure you give them a call, 706-393-8426. Jordan, any final words, sir?
Yes, sir. Quick shout out to my mom who's been going through cancer treatments. I want to say RIP to a friend of mine, Hiram Dunaway, who passed away. And a quick PSA, men out there, he passed away due to complications from hypertension, which led to kidney failure. Fellas, go get checked. A lot of times we have aches and pains and things, and we avoid going to see a doctor. But ignoring a potential problem is not going to make it go away. Yet actually addressing a potential problem early could very well save your life. So please, fellas, go get checked out. Last but not least, I want to thank God for giving me this breath that I breathe to talk about these Atlanta, these Georgia sports that I love. Peace up, A-Town down.
Don't forget to listen every Thursday night after 10 o'clock following the Clingstones baseball game on SportsVisions 92.1 FM. Until next time, always be listening, always be watching Around the ATL. Peace.
Dribble, pass, throw, catch, hit, slide, grab, respect, around.